Welcome to this journey of discovering biblical wisdom that's just as relevant today as it was when Esther stood before the Persian king. As we navigate the complexities of our world, we can draw inspiration from the timeless truths found in Scripture. For such a time as this, God has given us His Word as a guide for living. The stories, wisdom, and teachings within its pages are like precious jewels, waiting to be uncovered and applied to our lives. In this collection of reflections, we'll delve into the book of Esther, uncovering lessons that can help us find our place in the world and make a difference. As we explore the narrative of Esther, we'll discover themes of courage, loyalty, and perseverance. We'll see how God's sovereignty is at work, even when circumstances seem uncertain or difficult to understand. Through these biblical insights, we'll be encouraged to stand up for what's right, just like Esther did, and trust in a loving God who works everything out for our good. Whether you're facing challenges in your personal life, seeking guidance for a tough decision, or simply looking for reassurance that you're on the right path, this journey will offer words of hope and encouragement. Join me as we walk through the book of Esther together, uncovering wisdom that's just as relevant today as it was when the events took place. Getting started. Biblical context and key passages. The phrase, "for such a time as this," is perhaps one of the most iconic expressions in the Bible, spoken by Mordecai to Esther when she hesitated about approaching the king. Esther 4:14. This phrase is often quoted today, reminding us that our lives have purpose and that God has called each of us for a specific reason. As we explore the book of Esther, it becomes clear that this phrase is more than just a motivational quote. It's a reminder that our actions have consequences, and that we must be willing to take risks in order to fulfill our calling. Throughout Scripture, God repeatedly encourages His people not to be afraid. In Isaiah 41:10, He reminds us that, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God." This promise is echoed throughout the Bible, from Joshua's call to be strong and courageous, Joshua 1:9, to Jesus' words of comfort in Matthew 28:20. Repetition of this message suggests that fear is a common obstacle we must overcome in order to live out our faith. In the context of Esther's story, "for such a time as this" becomes a call to action. It reminds us that our unique circumstances are an opportunity for God to work through us and achieve His purposes. By trusting in Him and taking bold steps, we can make a difference in the world around us. So how do we apply "for such a time as this" to our own lives? We must first acknowledge that our circumstances are not coincidental. Then, we can ask God what He's calling us to do and be willing to take the necessary steps. Meaning and key themes. The phrase, "for such a time as this," encapsulates the idea that our lives have purpose and significance. It's a reminder that God has called each of us for a specific reason, and our actions have consequences in fulfilling that calling. This concept is not unique to Esther's story, but resonates throughout Scripture. In Isaiah 44, God reassures His people not to fear, promising to be with them always. This promise is echoed in other passages, such as Joshua 1:9 and Matthew 28:20, emphasizing the importance of courage and trust in God. However, "for such a time as this" also carries a sense of urgency and responsibility. It challenges us to recognize that our unique circumstances are an opportunity for God to work through us and achieve His purposes. By trusting in Him and taking bold steps, we can make a difference in the world around us. One key theme in Esther's story is the power of loyalty and perseverance. Despite facing seemingly insurmountable obstacles, Esther remained committed to her people and trusted in God's sovereignty. This loyalty ultimately led to the salvation of the Jewish people from persecution. The concept of "for such a time as this" highlights the importance of being present and engaged in our lives. It encourages us to be aware of the opportunities and challenges around us, rather than getting caught up in our own fears or doubts. Practical application today in today's world. We may face different challenges, but the principles outlined in Esther's story remain relevant. When faced with uncertainty or difficulty, we can draw on the wisdom of "for such a time as this" to guide us. This phrase reminds us that our circumstances are not coincidental, and that God has a purpose for each of us. By trusting in Him and taking bold steps, we can make a positive impact in our communities and beyond. One practical application of "for such a time as this" is to recognize the importance of standing up for what's right, even when it's difficult or unpopular. Esther's story shows us that courage and loyalty are essential qualities for living out our faith. By embracing these principles and trusting in God's sovereignty, we can find our place in the world and make a difference. Whether facing personal challenges or seeking guidance for tough decisions, "For such a time as this" offers words of hope and encouragement to help us navigate life's complexities. Conclusion. As we conclude our journey through the book of Esther, let's reflect on the timeless wisdom found within its pages. The phrase "for such a time as this" serves as a powerful reminder that our lives have purpose and significance. By embracing this concept, we can find courage to stand up for what's right, even when it's difficult or unpopular. We'll discover opportunities to make a difference in the world around us, just like Esther did. And through it all, God's sovereignty is at work, guiding us towards His purposes. Whether facing personal challenges or seeking guidance for tough decisions, may we draw on the wisdom of "for such a time as this" to guide us. May we trust in God's love and sovereignty, and may we boldly take the necessary steps to fulfill our calling.